Executions scheduled over 10 days. Arkansas is taking unprecedented action to execute convicted killers.
Ready for it to be over. It'll be done. And then he'll never be able to say my mom's name ever again.
Marcel Williams is my boogeyman.
24 years, 1 month, 12 days. My mother was everything to me.
Meeting my maker isn't something I have to fear or dread. I look forward to it.
The executions are slated to begin on Monday and continue through April 27th. An 8th inmate was also scheduled to be executed but received a stay last week. Now, the pace and the reasoning for this rapid schedule leading to sharp criticism and legal challenges. The state's supply of one of the drugs it uses for these lethal injections is set to expire at the end of April. We should also point out no state has tried to execute so many people in such a short period of time. Take a look at this. These are live pictures of a protest in Little Rock to rally against the executions. CNN legal analyst and constitutional law attorney Pate joins us now on the story. So, Paige, a couple of things I just want to bring up here. Number one, we're hearing that one of these drugs is expiring at the end of the month. So I guess, therefore, to make it work, they have to get them all in. Meantime, there's actually been a brief challenging the Department of Corrections filed by drug makers saying, in part, our drugs aren't meant for capital punishment. It's sort of astounding that this would be the reasoning that is given.
Well, Erica, it is astounding, but that is exactly the reason that's being given by the state for moving forward so quickly with so many executions at the same time. What they do in Arkansas is similar to what they do in a number of different states that have the death penalty, and they use a 3-drug cocktail to carry out the execution. The drug that's expiring is the first part of that cocktail, the first drug that's supposed to act as a sedative. Now, the state says what they have is going to expire, and as we can see with these recent objections that have been filed by the drug manufacturers, they don't want to supply new drugs to states that carry out executions. So what's happened in many states, and Arkansas is one state, they've gone to using compounding pharmacies, unapproved drugs. And so I think there's some concern from the state that if they don't use what they have now, they're going to have to scramble to get more to carry out the additional executions.
This brief that was filed by some of the drug makers isn't the only legal challenge, we should point out. There's even a case before the Supreme Court. Could any of these, is there a sense that any of these could stop any one of these 7 executions?
I think so, because as you mentioned earlier, this is really unprecedented, where we're moving so fast with so many executions at around the same time. And what the problem is you're not giving the lawyers, and lawyers on both sides, the defense lawyers and lawyers for the state, to really look at not just the conviction. I mean, these convictions occurred more than 10 years ago, but the process of carrying out the execution. This process takes time, and lawyers review it. They file objections and appeals right up to the very last minute. And we know from prior executions using this same type of drug, there have been problems. And if you're not giving the folks enough time to really evaluate how the process is working, you could end up with a very problematic execution, a botched execution, if you will.
And that actually happened in Oklahoma in 2014, and that state afterwards was supposed to do 2 executions on one day, canceled that second execution, and they now recommend 7 days in between executions. Also, we should point out, in one of the Arkansas inmates' federal complaints, they also say corrections officers are not hired executioners. So that's one of the things they also want taken into account, is that the impact that this has on the corrections officers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a very stressful process. Even if you're a supporter of the death penalty, going through an actual execution is difficult for everyone. I mean, obviously the inmate's going to be executed, the lawyers that are scrambling to make that last-minute challenge, the victims' families who are present, and the corrections department. And this is a state where they have not carried out even 1 execution in more than 10 years. So to all of a sudden get ramped up to do 7 in a row, I think that's going to present some challenges.
Be interesting to see where this goes. As we said, 7 scheduled over a course of 10 days. The first is set for Monday. We will see if that actually happens. Pate, really appreciate you joining us on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.